Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to my review for the 1997 horror film The Night Flier. Now this is a film I had never seen before, hence the title, first time watch. It's a film I've always wanted to see because I'm a big fan of Stephen King movies and things like that. I just never really got a chance to see this one before. However, I have seen this film now. It's directed by Miguel Perez and it stars the great character actor Miguel Perez, who we sadly lost in 2017. We also have Julie Entwistle, Dan Monahan, and Michael H. Moss. Now, for those of you who don't know, this film focuses on a serial killer who seemingly travels across the country, lands at remote airfields, and butchers pretty much anybody there. And there is a reporter, played by Miguel Perez, Richard Dees, who is a pretty ruthless reporter. He will go after a story ruthlessly, and he is given this story by his editor, and he goes after it. Essentially because he's also a pilot himself, so he can kind of follow these killings around in his own plane. However, the closer he gets to this mysterious serial killer who is killing his victims very similar to what a vampire would, the sooner he realizes that in actual fact what he might be facing may be something far more sinister than he first imagined. Right, what are my thoughts on The Night Flier? Well, I have to say this, while this film does have a very distinctive made-for-TV feel about it, and my understanding is it was, even though it did get a short theatrical release, it was released on American television first. I think HBO premiered it initially. So it definitely does have that very 90s TV movie feel about it. But at the same time, it's also got a quite unique look and feel to it as well, because it is quite violent, you know, there's the swearing and things like that in it. So it's not like what you would describe as a tame movie by any stretch of the imagination. It just feels like a TV movie at times. I think the premise here is fantastic. It reminded me very much of, you know, the Night Stalker thing that came out in the 70s, I believe it was. I remember watching the Night Stalker as a kid, you know, that reporter chasing the vampire. And it absolutely terrifying me. I just thought it was so frightening and so well done. And it's still very, very impactful today. So it had that feel for me of the Night Stalker, this. The big differences here is Miguel Perez's performance is very vastly different from Darren McGavin's performance in The Night Stalker. Miguel Perez's character, Richard Dees, is just ruthless and just not very likeable at all. He'll do anything to get his story. There's a young reporter called Blair, played by Julie Entwistle, who she's desperate to learn from him because he's like the number one guy, but he just uses her. He's a real piece of work, and not very likeable at all, but still, he's played so well. You still feel like a little bit of a connection to him because you want him to find out what's going on. You want him to track down this seeming vampire sort of thing, and you want to have the final confrontation, and that certainly does not disappoint. I mean, I have seen reviews of this. I think one of the big YouTube movie channels did a review on this. I'm not sure how long ago, but I'd like to say 6 months ago, but it might be longer. And I remember watching that thinking, wow, it looks fabulous. And, you know, they showed some great clips from the film and stuff like that. And I thought, it just looks really good and really atmospheric. And this really kind of mythical vampire that's just travelling around and in its plane, landing and butchering people. I mean, what it does, it kind of lands and kind of seduces or puts people within and around the airport in a bit of a trance, and then returns, and then it's mealtime. And it does a really good job, I think, of leaving the mystery. I think if so often horror movies today, just, you know, they reveal their ace in the hole far too quickly, or they reveal the creatures far too quickly, and that mystique has gone. Whereas this doesn't. Um, it leaves it right till the end, and it is definitely worth the wait. That we know when the curtain is lifted on this, um, Dwight Renfield, as this vampire calls himself. And if you know your Dracula, you'll know where the name Renfield comes from. But when they finally meet up by the end of the film, it absolutely doesn't disappoint. I was really, really impressed with it. I actually quite like the ending as well. It was quite poetic. How the film ended didn't really leave anything open for interpretation or anything like that. You know, apparently they were going to do a sequel to this, and because this film didn't perform particularly well, obviously that didn't come to fruition. I honestly, personally think this is a Stephen King film that is ripe for a remake. I mean, and a good quality remake. There's nothing wrong with this. I think it's absolutely solid, but I would love to see, you know, a really highly polished version of this, as long as they kind of, you know, stick to that mystique and, you know, the vampire in the shadows type of thing, and don't soften it at all. I would very much like to see that. So I have to say, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was solid. You know, it's not expertly done. You know, it feels like classic Stephen King, in relation to, you know, the structure of the story and all that kind of stuff. And again, just the whole concept, you know, of this vampire in a plane being chased by a reporter in a plane all across the country, just works so well for me, you know. And there's some really impressive scenes here that are quite nicely put together and nicely constructed. And I have to say, I am very, very happy that I have seen this one. I don't believe it's available on Blu-ray, certainly in the UK, but if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments. I think you can get it on DVD, and it's probably one I would look to add to my collection, because I did enjoy it. So keep your eye out, guys. I'm going to do a few more first time watchers. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, but I hope you enjoy catching up with this new series of reviews. So thank you very much for joining me, guys. I will of course be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.